Honourable Advisers, Members of Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today I welcome you all to our Paris Policy Roundtable with the title Bangladesh First, a Foreign Policy Outlook for a New Bangladesh. We are honored to have Mr. Humaiun Kobir, Honourable Foreign Affairs Advisor to the Prime Minister for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, and Ministry of Civil Aviation and Tourism as the keynote speaker for this session. He is also the government's International Affairs Secretary on the National Executive Committee. He has previously worked in ministerial private offices in the UK government under 3 former prime ministers and secretariats of states in the UK government cabinet. Very lastly, in 10 Downing Street under Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And the moderator for today is Major General A.N.M. Muniruzzaman, NDC PSC retired President, Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Security Studies, BIPSS. Now I would like to request the moderator to continue with the rest of the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Adviser, Ambassadors, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. It gives me distinct pleasure to welcome you to our Policy Roundtable this afternoon on the foreign policy of Bangladesh. I'm delighted that we have the advisor speak to us this afternoon on what Bangladesh foreign policy will look like with the current BNP government in power. Under the guiding principle of the Prime Minister, Bangladesh first, our priorities are clear. We seek to transform Bangladesh from a reactive state into one which is assertive and play its rightful role in the international arena. We want to position Bangladesh as a strategic connector in the Indo-Pacific region. Foreign policy is not merely about diplomacy between states. It's about protecting national interests, ensuring economic prosperity, maintaining security, and strengthening country's position in the global community. For a developing and a strategically located country like Bangladesh, foreign policy plays a crucial role in shaping our future. The new Bangladesh government faces a world marked by geopolitical rivalry, economic uncertainty, climate challenges, and rapid technological transformation. Therefore, its foreign policy priorities must focus on realism, balance, and national development. First and foremost in these will be Bangladesh's economic diplomacy, and that should get top priority, especially as Bangladesh graduates from LDC status. Secondly, we think that a balanced relationship with major powers is essential. Bangladesh maintains a robust policy and engagement with all major powers in the world, and that balance and strategic neutrality for constructive relationship must be maintained at all costs. Thirdly, we think that government must prioritize regional cooperation, especially as regionalism in South Asia falters, and it is an area which is least connected in the world. Therefore, organizations must, like SAARC, must be revitalized. Another priority for the government is the Rohingya crisis, and for that, the government will have to work very, very hard and in an innovative way to solve the problem so that Rohingyas can be repatriated with honor, dignity, and safety back to their own country. Furthermore, climate diplomacy should become a central pillar of Bangladesh's diplomacy. Bangladesh, as a climate vulnerable country, faces grave challenges from climate change, and that's an area where Bangladesh must play a robust role. In addition, we also feel that maritime security, particularly in the Bay of Bengal, is an area of Bangladesh's key interest, and diplomacy must focus on those areas. The new government should also focus on public diplomacy and soft power, and Bangladesh has a lot of potential to play a very robust role in those areas. The world is changing rapidly, and Bangladesh must adapt with confidence, wisdom, and unity. With effective leadership and strategic planning, our foreign policy can become a powerful instrument of achieving national prosperity, security, and global position and recognition. With that introduction, I shall now hand over the floor to our esteemed speaker. Sir, you have the floor.
Excellencies, advisors, distinguished guests, President of the Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Security Studies, General Muniruzzaman, and all other distinguished participants, a very good afternoon to you all here at the West Inn in Dhaka. I'm delighted and honored to be amongst you this afternoon. In particularly so, I believe such initiatives and events allow the space for engagement between government and every strata of society, whether it's the diplomatic community in Dhaka, civil society, business stakeholders. Many of you come from a diverse range of backgrounds and in your own right are very distinguished personalities. So I welcome this opportunity and I'm honored to be here. I particularly thank the Bangladesh Institute for Peace and Security Studies, who I have had a long-standing relationship with, sometimes overtly, sometimes in the dark days of autocracy, covertly, General Muniruzzaman, and we hope that we'll never return, Bangladesh never will return to such a dark period again. And 5th August 2024 is the turning point in our history that our great country moves towards prosperity and progress. Since being appointed by the Honourable Prime Minister Tariq Rahman on 17th February, when our government took office following a landslide victory, I have travelled extensively. I knew my job will involve extensive travelling, but the fact that it will become so extreme from a very early period is nothing neither I planned for, and perhaps neither the Prime Minister also thought I would need to do when we took office. Following taking office, of course, as they say, events in world affairs take over. Nobody planned for a war in the Middle East was on the horizon. Since taking office, I've traveled to IC ministers in Jeddah, the Commonwealth Ministers meeting in London, Turkey, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, India, Mauritius, and China recently. Why am I narrating this at the opening to you? It encapsulates the nature of flexibility that is required to operationally operate in the sphere of foreign affairs, given the volatile nature of the world political economy, and one needs to be flexible. The theme of today's discussion, Bangladesh, a foreign policy outlook for a new Bangladesh. Now, how our new government presents its foreign policy outlook for a new Bangladesh, I will share some of the key elements of that vision with you today. Our foreign policy is based on the aspiration of putting Bangladesh first. Now, putting Bangladesh first does not mean isolation or isolating Bangladesh, any form of isolationization, but rather prioritizing Bangladesh, prioritizing the national interest and development of the country. So this is what we mean by putting Bangladesh first. The BNP government's foreign policy or guiding principles are threefold. Firstly, that we will project a foreign policy that is non-country centric, not dependent on any specific country. Secondly, it will be multifaceted. And thirdly, flexible. To understand why a new foreign policy outlook is essential, we must understand and recognize the context of the world we live in today. The world political economy is undergoing a rapid transformation. The era of single power dominance is fading. Strategic competition between major powers is intensifying. Economic interdependence is being reshaped by protectionism and supply chain shifts and supply chain disruptions. Technology is becoming a central pillar in geopolitical influence. Climate change is redefining global priorities. Some questions now also have arisen. To what extent the international rulebook exists? Are we moving from multilateralism to post-multilateralism now? And how would post-multilateralism look in a new era? Are multilateral institutions going to be an effective process of mediation, arbitration in international disputes and conflicts? Or are we seeing the emergence of alliances in world politics and economics where groupings of countries play a new emerging role of multilateral approach and behavior? For Bangladesh, the challenge is clear. How do we navigate this complex environment when, without compromising our sovereignty or our development goals? A forward-looking policy must also reflect on past experiences. There have been periods when Bangladesh's foreign policy appeared reactive rather than strategic and completely dependent, as you all would have noticed and be aware of in the last nearly 2 decades, dependent on a country-specific dependence. At times, our engagements lacked balance. At times, institutional capacity was not fully utilized. The new government, led by Tareq Rahman, recognizes that diplomacy cannot be driven by short-term considerations or simply narrowed down alignments. Foreign policy must be professional, institutional, flexible, and above all, national interest driven. This is where the shift begins. The core pillars of our new foreign policy, the Bangladesh First doctrine, rests on 5 interlinked pillars. Firstly, sovereignty and strategic autonomy. Bangladesh will engage with all nations, but it will not be dependent on any. We will pursue independent decision-making. We will pursue respect-based partnerships and non-alignment in strategic rivalries. Strategic autonomy does not mean neutrality, by the way, within our foreign policy. It means the ability to choose freely and wisely to make correct decisions. Secondly, economic diplomacy as the central engine or the centerpiece of our foreign policy must deliver tangible economic benefits. Our priorities include expanding export markets beyond traditional destinations, attracting diversified foreign investment, securing energy partnerships, strengthening trade connectivity. And when I mention securing energy partnerships, I mean securing our energy security, diversifying our stock, as well as building our internal capacity to produce. We envision Bangladesh as a regional economic bridge connecting South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the broader Indo-Pacific. Economic diplomacy will no longer be secondary. It will be central to our foreign policy. A country like Bangladesh cannot pursue a foreign policy where foreign economic and security policies are too isolated from each other. They're integrated and intertwined. Must be. Our foreign policy pursuit will look to a balanced global engagement. Bangladesh will maintain constructive relations with all major global actors. We will strengthen ties with long-standing partners, expand engagement with emerging economies, diversify our diplomatic and economic relationships. Balance, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, is not a weakness. Balance is a strategy. It's a vision of our political foreign policy of the government led by BNP. Fourthly, regional stability and connectivity would be the fourth pillar. Our immediate neighborhood region remains our strategic priority. We will work towards enhancing regional trade, infrastructure connectivity, energy cooperation, and, where necessary, peaceful dispute resolution. A stable region is essential for a prosperous Bangladesh. Will be the emphasis on people-centered diplomacy. Foreign policy must directly benefit our citizens. We will prioritize protection of migrant workers, expansion of legal migration pathways, support for Bangladeshi students abroad, and widen our engagement with the Bangladeshi diaspora globally. Diplomacy must touch lives, not just simply make headlines. Bangladesh in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. As I shared, that regional cooperation, regional leadership will be a top priority for our government. We will revive the SAARC framework, and we will work with both diplomatic instruments of the SAARC framework as well as the BIPSS. The Indo-Pacific has emerged as a central arena of global competition. Bangladesh's position is very clear. We support an inclusive, open, cooperative Indo-Pacific. We will not take sides in rivalry, but we will actively participate in initiatives that promote trade, connectivity, maritime security, and sustainable development. Climate leadership and global responsibility. Few countries understand the urgency of climate change as deeply as Bangladesh. we are not just a victim. We want to also be a voice in that area. The new government will advocate strongly for climate justice, demand fair financing mechanisms, lead adaptation and resilience initiatives, share best practice, international best practice, and exchange of views, ideas, and what works and what doesn't. Bangladesh will position itself as a global leader in climate diplomacy under our government. To do all that, we need to restore institutional strength in diplomacy. No foreign policy can succeed without strong institutions. We will professionalize the diplomatic service, strengthen policy and research and strategic planning. So policy research and strategic planning will feed into the decisions we take strongly, ensure coordination between our ministries. So the fragmented approach to foreign policy decisions of the past will wither away with immediate effect, or has done so already. Ensure that coordination between ministries is at the heart of decision making. Promote merit-based leadership within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, within our diplomatic services, abroad and in our stations, where we have people with the best of ability in conducting our diplomatic operations, our business operations, and also widen the net of recruitment in recruiting more experts from the private sector, where we will place strong prioritize bilateral economic relations, ensuring that we have the right type of personnel who carry these expertise in areas of trade and investment, etc. Diplomacy must be driven by expertise, not simply we should do it by improvisation or any kind of piecemeal approach. There has to be a coherent structure to it, and we will put that in place. Now, coming on to security, stability, and counterterrorism, as I shared, that foreign policy is an integrated approach for a country like Bangladesh. What we want to establish is a national security architecture that is required in this country, because it's been too fragmented for too long. A country, a government that is fragmented, that has no security structure or any kind of architecture or a system, is not respected, neither is respected at home or abroad, and is open to exploitation. So this will stop with immediate effect. National security remains a cornerstone of our foreign policy. Bangladesh will strengthen international cooperation against terrorism, enhance intelligence sharing, promote regional security dialogue. Peace is not something gained automatically. It must be worked on and achieved. And the government, led by Honourable Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, will definitely work at it and definitely achieve it. Democratic and, we must ensure that the context that we govern in our country has the open space and mindset prevailing to promote democratic and make democratic practices and to make Bangladesh credible, both internally and externally, in a consistent way. Our foreign policy credibility is closely tied to our domestic strength. A democratic, transparent, and accountable Bangladesh will naturally command greater respect on the global stage. The new government is committed to strengthening democratic institutions, upholding rule of law, ensuring good governance. Because credibility begins at home, not abroad. If you're credible in your own country, amongst your own people, if you're respected, then you'll be respected internationally. If you have no credibility at home, if you abuse the rights of your people at home, if you conduct malgovernance at home, then you will be disrespected, not by your own people, more importantly by your own people, as well as people outside externally. So, in terms of, when I say at the start, when I said that we in Bangladesh never should return to this dark period of the last 15, 16 years of autocratic rule that we saw in our country, this is what I mean. This was a Bangladesh that was not respected by its own people. It was not respected by the international community. Now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I like to make a call to the international community here today. Bangladesh stands ready for a new chapter. We invite our partners to engage with us in this journey. We seek partnership, not patronage, cooperation, not political conditionality, mutual respect, and not a hierarchical relationship. The new Bangladesh demands and respects the international democratic space, and within that, we will operate with mutual respect and mutual integrity for each other's cooperation, whether be it political, economic, or security. A stronger Bangladesh contributes to a more stable and prosperous region, and therefore also the world. In closing remarks, let me return to where I began. Bangladesh first is not about turning inward, as I shared earlier. It is about stepping forward with confidence. It is about ensuring that our global engagements serve our national vision, our national interest. It is about building a Bangladesh that is sovereign, that is resilient, that is economically dynamic, and globally respected. The path ahead, of course, will not be easy. There will be many challenges. However, if we can exercise and provide discipline, unity, and strategic thinking, and with the right vision and commitment, Bangladesh is not just ready to adapt to the changing world. Bangladesh, my friends, Bangladesh is ready to lead and influence within it as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Advisor, for your very well laid out deliberation on the future of Bangladesh foreign policy. These are the directions that the new government is going to follow. And as the first event on Bangladesh foreign policy after the new BNP government has taken over, this is significant to hear you on the priorities for the new government. So I thank you for your deliberation, and I shall now open the floor for questions and comments. Please raise your hand, indicate to me. I shall give you the floor and the microphone. Be very brief so that we can take in as many questions and comments as possible, and then turn to our advisor for his response. The floor is now open. Let me see the hands, then I shall come to you. Ambassador Shamim.
Thank you, Chairman. And we have met at the beginning, so let me again introduce myself. My name is Shamim Ahmed. I'm a former ambassador. I retired almost 20 years ago, so that way I'm a prehistoric person here. And well, thanks for your presentation. I would have a few questions, maybe at least two. I mean, I have paid attention to your presentation, which I feel has been more in general terms. But let me bring you to one or two specific areas. One is, what would be the new government's policy on South Asia, with the South Asian countries, particularly with India and Pakistan, again, vis-a-vis the relations of these two countries, Indo-Pakistan relations. And also, what would be your policy on China? We have recently followed the visit of the foreign minister to Beijing, and possibly you also accompanied him. And then what would be your new ideas on myself being a former foreign service officer on the Bangladesh Foreign Service? We have any plans for them, and is there any novelty in that plan, in that program for the Foreign Service? Another thing, it's a very curious question.
Can we limit our questions to one, please?
Okay.
For the sake of time.
Okay.
Next question, Ashfaq Zaman. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Your Excellency. It gives us a foresight of what is coming up next. But one thing, if I may frame it as a problem statement, is that I believe that Bangladesh does not have a capacity problem. It has a perception problem. Most of the ambassadors who probably came over here, if they've Googled Bangladesh, the first 2 or 3 pages, I believe, will show flood, disasters, population problem. But we, as you already mentioned, that we should not be only known for that, but for us to actually create a space within the greater world, we should be known as being the 8th biggest population of the whole world, as being the bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia, as being the a country with humongous demographic dividend. Almost 46% of our population is under the age of 26. So what can we do to actually change this perception globally as a first step towards positioning our narrative in the greater community? Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador Shahid.
Thank you. First of all, I recognize our distinguished speaker, the advisor. I think he has given a totally new perception about how Bangladesh should be. And I am really privileged to hear from him directly. I knew that he has that vision, but listening face to face is a different story altogether. Well, coming to the topic, Bangladesh first, foreign policy outlook for a new Bangladesh. I think he gave a beautiful narrative. My question would be, we have moved now into the Bangladesh first doctrine. Looking back, we had friendship with all, malice to none. This mantra, how does it go with the Bangladesh first? And now we have a few big countries, United States, India, China. How would Bangladesh move, because these countries are very important to Bangladesh. How will Bangladesh deal with these countries? Will it be transactional? Are we moving away from the non-alignment? How do we deal with these countries? Well, as you said, Mr. Chair, that there should be only one question. I'll limit myself to this question. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Nareen.
Thank you. Actually, he already spoke my mind. I wanted to ask these type of questions. First, thank you so much, Honourable Adviser, because his statement, his comment is sort of not a political, it's a sort of emotional, and every time when I heard Bangladesh first, it gives me a sort of a goosebump. It became a sort of very emotional, so that's why our expectation of this government is very high. So as I said before that he already spoke my mind, my question is actually rather, I could say it's not a question, it's my concern that how can like Bangladesh pursue a Bangladesh first foreign policy while balancing relationship with major power like India, China, and Islamic states without becoming overly dependent on one side. Thank you.
Yes, Ambassador Kamrul, please.
Thank you, Excellency, for delivering the speech. My name is Kamrul Hassan. I am former ambassador and secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I was Director South Asia as well as Secretary Bilateral. And I also started my career in China after completing my language course there. So whenever our engagement with China and India comes, it immediately draws my attention. So you have just returned from China, and my question is that we have seen, in Bangladesh, there is always a kind of a competition, I say, between China and India to extend their influence. So I don't know whether my question is too direct, but I just want to have some idea from you how you are going to balance these two countries.
Thank you. Nasreen?
I'm Nasreen Siddiqa, Executive Director of ECS. Besides, I'm contributing as a global scholar, consultant, and researcher. So at first I have to mention that we are the witness that the way BIPSS contributed during that dark phase. In the same way, the contribution, the constructive and definitely the strategic contribution during the time of national election. We have to give thanks again. And you say that balance is not weakness, it's strategy. Absolutely. So Bangladesh is today increasingly that connected with the global world, not through the diplomacy, but also we have the collaboration in academic collaboration, research partnership, cultural exchange, youth exchange program, global scholarship program in a different way. So however, during periods of geopolitical tension or domestic and international unrest, this relationship often become very difficult. So my direct question is, how does Bangladesh envision maintaining balance and constructive relationship with diverse countries and global partners, irrespective of geopolitical polarization? So how you are thinking that you will maintain this type of relationship? Sometimes we need to sit together with India, Pakistan, China, and USA and other countries to take decisions in scholar level, in think tank level, also in the youth level. So how we are going to mention this relationship? Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. We will now go back to our speaker for his response. Then if there are any pressing questions, I shall come back for a second round to take another 2 or 3 questions at the end. So can I turn the floor back to Mr. Kobir for his response?
Thank you. If I could then start, I think Ambassador Shamim's question was around sort of the new government's policy approach to South Asia and the India-Pakistan relationship. Now, as I said, that we'll revive this ARC framework. It is through a regional prism that, is top priority that we're going to project our foreign policy. Regional cooperation and regional leadership is the best way forward, we believe, to make our positions strongly heard within international forums, international organizations, and take strategic decisions also that keep a balance between, if you want to say, also, to an extent, Washington, Beijing, etc. India, Pakistan, we've seen the consistent tensions that exist between both the countries. But that's why we believe also having multiple diplomatic instruments to build regional cooperation, and the SARC framework as well as having the BIMSTEC are 2 of those that I outlined. But we will adopt a flexible foreign policy to have, to embrace multiple, instruments in order to strengthen regional cooperation. Bangladesh is willing to consider and participate at. The second question was by Mr. Ashfaq, I think, on the perception of Bangladesh. You see, why it is all also on the mindset on how we project Bangladesh, and particularly those who are in government and also those outside, because we have to exercise collective responsibility on how we vision and market Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh, to me, is a socially advanced country. It has one of the best social indicators in, addressing poverty, education, infant mortality, health indicators. So from that aspect, we are one of the leaders in the region on that. Bangladesh, the next 10 years, will become one of the top 20 economies in the world. So Bangladesh is a very advancing country, an emerging country, a fast emerging country. And this is the Bangladesh we want to promote with ambition to engage with the world. And the more we democratize, the more our values are centered around freedom and choice, the more we will gain traction at home as well as outside. Ambassador Shahid, I think, yes, around the slogan of friendship to all, malice to none. Sometimes I find it hard to digest that something like this exists in diplomacy today. I think this is an ideal utopian world. We would like to see friendship to all, malice to none. But I'm afraid there is malice to us, and friendship to us or non-friendship to us. So you've got to be strategic. Your vision cannot simply just be a generic vision. That's ideally utopian. We would like that, but we don't live in a world like that. We live in a very volatile world. The world political economy is volatile. On 17th February, when we took government, when we took office, if anybody had said that the Middle East will be going into war, the US will be going into war with Israel, would anyone believe that? At the time, would we have that in mind? So, in terms of in a volatile world, we must be pragmatic. We must exercise the realignment of our values, in the sense that we believe in having a set of values that we want to engage with the world on. And then these values will determine how we align and realign, given the crisis, given the timings of events in the world. So yes, we've got to keep it flexible and multifaceted. I think the sloganistic nature of friendship to all, malice to none is, in terms of, in that kind of wording, it is perhaps irrelevant, but some of the messaging of that diplomatic slogan can be enshrined in some of the values that we integrate to address our foreign policy projections. Oh good, I've got a lot of mics in front of me. I think Dr. Nahreen Islam, over-dependence on how we move forward without over-dependence on one particular country. Well, I think we decided that on 5th August 2024, that we will have a clean break. Bangladesh will never, ever return to the fate that as a subservient, again, regionally, to any country, or globally to anybody, whether it's East, West. Bangladesh will operate on its terms that have enshrined within them the desire and will of its people. That Bangladesh does not exist today anymore. And Bangladesh will now move forward with the principal foreign policy projection that I mentioned around non-country specific, not dependent on any particular country, multifaceted, flexible, with flexibility. Right. Ambassador Kamrul Hassan, balancing China and India relations. You see, the main thing that we have clearly, projected and will continue to do so, that we will not be a football between China and India. We can be a referee now and then, but we will not be a football. We can be a referee now and then to ensure that, in terms of as a neutral friend to both, that, there is some fair playground between them, but we will not be a football to either of them. So Bangladesh first particularly prioritizes the interests of Bangladesh. And we would be best placed, this new government, to balance our relations due to one thing, that we are a legitimately elected government by the people of Bangladesh by 2/3 majority. And that gives you a position of strength to negotiate. If you look at, without digressing too much, one example, a top national security priority example that I will cite to you is the Rohingya issue. The Hasina regime failed to negotiate because they were hedging between China and India on this issue. Hasina was an abusive criminal at home, so she had no respect with the government of Myanmar. Someone who abuses their people at home cannot talk about the abuse of others beyond their territories. So the principles that she required, the mandate that she required to give her a position of strength did not exist. We have the mandate to balance our relations because the People's Republic of China, the government of India know that we have the mandate of the people of our country. So when we negotiate, we will negotiate from a position of strength. And this mandate is so important. Even if you look at the past interim government, they did a lot of, good things, but at the end they were fading away. Why were they fading away? Why could they not take bold decisions? It's because they lacked a mandate. Without a mandate, it is difficult to take bold decisions. So this government will be able to take decisions. We will take bold decisions because we will negotiate from a position of strength. And, both China, India, and anyone else, will give us that respect because we are part of the international democratic order. And we do, with 180 million people, demand and will have a respectful, rightful place in world affairs, given the mandate we have. Dr. Nasreen, I think you mentioned a similar question also, maintaining balance. So it comes down, the legitimacy of our mandate will give us the strength and the position of, particularly the position of strength to balance between Washington, Beijing, and other stakeholders. And we don't have to hedge in our partnerships between countries, sort of laying down our guard on our necessities and our wants. So we can demand that across the table. And I believe, the partnerships we will go into will be partnerships that are mutually, respected, etc. So in terms of, I think we're in a good place so far. And, the trip from China, just recently, the official visit, I think Ambassador, you asked, it was a very good, visit. China is an important partner of Bangladesh. I would be an idiot as an advisor to the Prime Minister if I stood up and said China is not an important, development partner of Bangladesh. And I don't think even President Trump will clap at that because, he'll think, that's a bit, don't know where that's coming from. So, we've got to be pragmatic about where we are. But we are a government which has mandate. We won't be turned over by anyone. We won't get into any coercive, partnerships, placed upon us by any country or any, capital of the world, whether it's Washington, Beijing, Delhi, whoever you want to, mention. In terms of we will have balanced relations with everyone, and I think our mandate is now helping in reaching out and creating those relationships with all the necessary stakeholders, and we are in a very significantly good position. And because of that, I think we've also managed to keep stability at home in terms of, given the Middle East crisis. If you look at, prices are, hiking everywhere around the world. Look at the energy prices. So we have, rationed to keep that balance. We have taken a calculated risk in subsidizing, selling oil. But, we took those decisions and we've diversified our stock reasonably where we can. And these early decisions have helped keep stability at home. The people are happy here. And even if you look at the spirit of celebrating the last, I think, Boishaki events, when I've not seen so much joy in people's eyes, people's, lives when they came out in such a disciplined way. Not even the government or the state needed to provide any kind of serious, security intensity, launch capabilities to protect, citizens, etc. It was done in a very disciplined way, and it was done because people, for the first time, felt free, and they feel liberated. And I strongly believe that the people of country, and those, even you all sitting here, you feel very free that you are able to criticize the government without getting arrested. You're very free to criticize me without, if anything, I might even offer you a toast so that you criticize me. But you're free to, constructively criticize this government. In terms of we must allow people choices. It's only when you restrict people's choices in daily life and decisions they want to take or things they want to express, it leads the government towards a dark process altogether. So in terms of we as a government from very early on are giving people the freedom to unleash their potential, make those free choices. We are promoting small, medium enterprises in regions. This, in our country, is a very youthful country. It has one of the largest youth populations in the world. In terms of, academia is not for everyone. Every student doesn't have to go through the academic process to get a job. In terms of they should be encouraged to do business. So we're encouraging, banking facilities. We're encouraging support from the government. We're promoting exports. We're providing, we will provide bonds on exports, so just like we did for the garments. So just being focused on garments alone is not a sustainable way to manage your economy, or reserves alone. It's not a sustainable way of managing your economy. To diversify. So we are going to provide diversified financial support and support in every way for any sector, anybody producing, exports, in terms of making sure Bangladesh's exports are on the rise. I think that's all the questions so far.
We will take two last questions. The first one goes to Madam Member of Parliament. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, BIPSS, for organizing such a timely discussion session, and then obviously to our Honourable Advisor for explaining this Bangladesh First foreign policy in such a clear manner. So thank you very much. So given that I come from a business background, so obviously Bangladesh First, when you talk about this principle, I saw the questions and comment, the discussion already kind of shared a kind of a slight confusion around how do we approach our relationship with our foreign partners. So it's going to be a very strategic relationship. So we are no longer going to take a position where we are just seeking help from others, taking a subservient attitude. Rather, it is about mutual respect and shared interest. And when you talked about Bangladesh First principle, you focused on this economic policy being one of the major pillars, economic diplomacy. And obviously, when we talk about economic diplomacy, you already slightly touched upon the opportunities that lies within this land, the geolocation, the youth, And definitely the government, the way you are promoting the meritocracy, professionalism, and we already see it. We do have a vast majority of students who are studying in technology universities, and we see also gender-wise, I see when it comes to academic standards, our women are also coming ahead. So in such an opportunity when the country is offering it, it was the lack of our direction, the strategic direction, which kind of gave a very mixed signal to our foreign investors. We have seen that when even I, from my previous professional background, when we represented a foreign investor, we saw a kind of a unmotherly attitude that you are someone coming from abroad, so taxation doesn't matter, everything, the extra load on the foreign investors and all. But this does not really, when we talk about Bangladesh first, we cannot forget about the partners who are coming and relying on this land, and it's the mutual interest, right? So how do we kind of give the signal to our foreign investors and bring more foreign investors by showing our Bangladesh is open for business? I have seen already deregulation is one of the major approach. Our our finance minister, commerce minister, even our prime minister have multiple times mentioned about. But what I feel is that more we need a very strong assurance from going from our government to our foreign investor communities, the stability. There will not be frequent change in the policy. There will not be random changes of taxation within 6 months. So those were the bad times we want to forget, and we really want to move ahead. So that was my kind of a question and comment to the Honourable Advisor.
Thank you. The very last question, I would like to offer it to somebody from MOFA if he's here. Somebody from MOFA? Maybe Sanchita, you have the last question.
Sir, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Actually, I didn't intend to ask any question because our Honourable Advisor is very comprehensive in his speech, and he made very clear for us, we are the professionals now, we are serving officers in the MOFA, so we see a very clear shift from the previous government to the new government. I mean, previous two governments, 15-year-old government and the interim government. This is a very clear shift, Bangladesh first. And sir has made it very clear that Bangladesh first will mean that Bangladesh's interests will be prioritized. So since I have given the opportunity to ask a question to Honourable Advisor, may I ask this question, sir? That how you have mentioned it very clearly that professionalism and pragmatism, efficiency of the officers will be given priority to implement your new foreign policy directives. So, sir, what kind of reform you are going to undertake to implement this vision of yours? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's the end of the question. So I will go back to the advisor again for his response, and after that we'll conclude.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just coming with answering Ms. Zahrat Adib Chaudhry's question. You're not just a businesswoman, you're a member of parliament now. And, you know, our leader recruited Ms. Chaudhry because of her distinguished business credentials. She was Deputy Chief Executive of Bangla Link, and we want more proficient, highly competent women like her to come and embrace politics and be part of the political process, legislative process in Bangladesh. And you've already taken a shot at me. Now, red tape. In terms of one of the things we're doing is that we're ensuring that when foreign investment comes into the country, there's totally, the sort of elimination of red tape, where we will have a captain attached to any kind of foreign investment that will take them through the whole government process. So how many licenses a foreign business needs, that captain will do the application, take them through the entire cycle without them having to run through ministry after ministry, in a time-specific way. And we are doing things in a very joined-up way. So when big multinational companies come in to the country, One example, I can practically cite is that, say, when they're meeting me, this is the approach we're taking from government. It's joined up. So whichever ministries and officials they need, they're in that meeting. So that we have this one meeting. They don't have to explain their story 10 times over, running around 10 ministries. And from there on, it is a yes or a no, whether it's viable or not. So it's, we're quickening the pace in that area. And Bangladesh First is not a protectionist, priority. As I said, it doesn't promote protectionism. It promotes priority development for Bangladesh. So that's what's at the heart. It's not a blockade on any kind of foreign investment. In fact, it embraces foreign investment so that our development interests can progress. So it's prioritizing Bangladesh's development needs. It is not the old idea of realism or protectionism in that direction. It's a very liberal approach to putting Bangladesh's development needs first. Ms. Sanchita, I think you asked a question around professionalization of the foreign service, something in line. When I first went in to meet senior officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, both myself and our Honourable Foreign Minister, Dr. Khalilur Rahman, quite clearly stated, in my remarks, that, you have nothing to fear. You work for the country, you don't work for any political party. The country is everyone's. You are the government of Bangladesh. You work for your country. Yes, 15, 16 years you've been denied the right to work for your country. You have been politicized as a weapon to implement the objectives, the mal-objectives of a political party. But that Bangladesh doesn't exist anymore. 4 or 5 individuals, maybe at 6 at the most, were responsible in politicizing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That doesn't mean a, 250 or 300 staffing organization. All have been part of rogue activities, criminal activities. The very few who attempted that, of course, they will be brought under accountability. For Masood bin Mumin's criminal activities, the entire foreign service should not be held accountable. He will be held accountable. There will be an inquiry on him and his corruption. I believe, and the government believes, anyone who has been corrupt, anyone who has mal-exercised and gone beyond professional norms to exercise fear among their workforce that they do as they're told, otherwise they will be fired, and destroyed a very good, otherwise competent foreign service for 15 years, of course will be brought to book. They shouldn't be given a pension and, retired off to leave. That was the flaw of the interim government. He should be brought to book. That is gross misconduct. And for gross misconduct, you don't get a single penny's pay from the people of Bangladesh. And we will ensure that. So for his crimes, I know you might make that the headline today, but for his crimes, we should not be punishing the entire foreign service. The foreign service has got a clear message from the top. Work for your country without fear. This is your chance. And do it. We support you. Those of you in the headquarters, those of you who are out in our respective stations around the world, we are behind you. You represent the national flag. You represent the government of Bangladesh. And we will do anything to ensure your well-being. Because it's when you operate without fear and with your well-being intact, you will do best for the country. So this foreign service, under the BNP's leadership, in the BNP government, will be a professional service. The Prime Minister has already called me in to, in the very first few days and said, in terms of yourself, and again you work closely with the Foreign Minister from the Prime Minister's office, I want you to take that advice is that we do not make unnecessary political appointments. We do not politicize the institution. We want our best diplomats to lead in various stations around the world. We will get the best expertise. We will ensure and try and get the resources for you that you need so that you're best able to do your jobs. So, feel confident. You are Bangladesh. You are very much part of the government's driving engine, and we're behind you. And let us work together and let us together make this country a great country that globally can influence for the good and become a country of great dignity and of great visibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kobir. I shall now turn to Shafkat Munir, Senior Fellow at BIPSS, for the closing remarks and vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this crucial policy roundtable to a close, I first want to extend our profound thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Humaiun Kobir, for your excellent articulation of Bangladesh First, a foreign policy outlook for a new Bangladesh. Your remarks, sir, have provided us with a rigorous strategic baseline for the road ahead. The question and answer session we just concluded has also reinforced a singular defining reality. Putting Bangladesh first is not an exercise in isolationism. It is a vital recalibration of our global engagement. It signals a shift from passive, moribund sloganeering like Bangladesh used to do, like friendship with all, malice to none, to more proactive, interest-driven diplomacy. As Lord Palmerston said many years ago, there are no permanent friends, there are no eternal enemies. The only thing that is permanent and eternal in international relations is national interest. In an era defined by multipolarity, shifting regional architectures and complex security dilemmas, a new Bangladesh requires a foreign policy anchored in strict strategic autonomy. This is not a novel concept for us. Rather, as I see it, it is a necessary return to the visionary pragmatism of Shahid President Ziaur Rahman. It was President Ziaur Rahman who masterfully engineered a multi-directional foreign policy, asserting our independent identity, balancing relations among major powers, and championing regional cooperation. It is no surprise, therefore, that an 8-year-old country called Bangladesh defeated Japan and became a member of the United Nations Security Council in 1978. And I could go on for hours talking about his myriad foreign policy achievements. Today, under this new government, as we navigate complex geopolitical currents, particularly in the Indo-Pacific, we must channel the same strategic agility, and our policy mandate is clear. Our diplomacy must be deeply pragmatic and unapologetically centered on our national security and economic resilience. I'm really glad, Honourable Adviser, that you have talked at length about reprofessionalizing the Foreign Service, because I think it is absolutely critical that the Foreign Service and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must reflect the new realities of Bangladesh. We need to look at the cadre strength. We need to look at whether structurally we need to bring new wings. I'm really heartened that recently they have started a wing on international security, but perhaps a separate wing on policy planning, on political military affairs. These are the need of the hour. We must also look at how we can greater engage Southeast Asia, because as Mr. Ashfaq Zaman mentioned earlier, we are a bridge nation between South and Southeast Asia, and that is an identity we must foster. Moving forward, our sovereignty, our strategic interests and economic imperatives are not mere talking points anymore. They are the non-negotiables that will dictate our partnerships. Charting this course will require continuous rigorous analysis, and I'm very happy to say that Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Security Studies remains committed to being at the forefront of this intellectual and strategic effort. I would once again like to thank our Honourable Speaker and all of you for your vigorous participation and sharp interventions today. Our discussion will continue now over refreshments. Thank you again for being with us, and we value your continued participation and support for BIPSS events. Thank you very much.